Hello, my name is Ty Schlegel. I'm a partner trainer at Google. Today we'll be talking about Google Analytics. We'll talk about what is Google Analytics, why you would ever want to use Google Analytics, and we'll talk about some of the fundamental definitions that we use with Google Analytics. So let's jump right in. So what is Google Analytics? Google Analytics is a free hosted tool that allows customers to gather information about their users. It not only gathers information on conversions, but it gives you rich insights to what user behavior looks like on your site. So why would you want to use Google Analytics? When I talked with SMBs out there, some of them felt compelled to create websites. But why? Why did they truly grab websites? They don't understand the true power of a website. Your website is truly a gold mine of your customers. And how can we really gather information to enrich your customer's experience on your website? This is where Google Analytics is most useful. Google Analytics makes customer insights easily accessible and measurable. There are 4 ways we can truly look into what our customers are doing. We might ask the question, who? This is where we can use audience reports. Audience reports allows us to figure out who is visiting our website. The other question is how. This is where we look at the traffic reports, answering the question, how are customers getting to our website? Thirdly is what. And this is, what are they doing on our website? How are they engaging with us on our website? What web pages are on this? And we use this through content reports. And finally, what is the value? What is the value of a customer on our website? And this is where we can use conversion reports to figure out what a customer is worth to us. What a customer is worth to us when they engage with us on our website. What insights does Google Analytics provide? There are 3 main definitions we have to look at when we look at Google Analytics. The first is metrics, the second is dimensions, and the third is segments. And we'll jump into each of those right now. So let's jump right into dimensions and metrics. Dimensions are the attributes or characteristic of your visitors. Who are they? Where are they coming from? What country are they coming from? What city or state? Metrics are the actual measurables of those users once they get onto your site. How long are they staying on? How often do they bounce out? What pages do they go to? Do they transfer between pages? These are very key metrics when we look into Google Analytics. So dimensions. To get a little more detail on what exactly dimensions are, Google will look at and gather over 80 different dimensions automatically. Some of these include geo and language, traffic source, where are they coming from? Was it Facebook? Was it Google? Was it some other homepage? Also, browser technology. What browsers are they using? Where are they engaging from? Is it mobile? Is it desktop? All these are very important when we look at the information themselves. Metrics. When we look at metrics, we're talking about the actual data behind that. Some of the key metrics we look at when we look at Google Analytics is bounces. How often do people bounce off? What is the bounce rate? What percentage of people will bounce between the websites? Clicks. How many clicks are we getting within a website? And finally, entrances and exits, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So now that we know both dimensions and metrics, where we truly see the value is when we do segments. So it's important to know where users come from, but if we can start to segment out different cities, different states, different browsers, different devices, this is where we can truly find the value of each users. For example, if we're curious about how many people are coming from the state of New York, we can segment out New York in the data and see what percentage of our users are coming from New York. Or if we're curious about browsers, we want to invest more into the browser, we can see how many of our users are coming from Chrome versus how many users are coming from Firefox or IE. Each dimension is automatically organized neatly into relevant groups. These groups we call segments. The example we're showing now, we have segmented it out into geography, traffic source, browser, and pages. Let's jump into geography. Using segments, we can break out metrics for different countries. For example, we'll take United States, Brazil, Canada, and France. Once we segment those out, we're able to see the visits, the pages, the visit duration, and the bounce rate for each of these countries. This gives us a good idea about the visitor engagement. When we're able to look at the number of visits, number of pages they view in a visit, the visit duration, and the bounce rate, we're able to give a clear picture of how users from different countries engage on a website. Furthermore, we can take this exact same segment of geo and look at direct conversions. Things like goal completions, goal completion rates, e-commerce conversion rate, and e-commerce revenue give us a clear picture on how users from different countries are converting with our website. So using this example, we were to see both engagement and conversions. But what are some examples of metrics that you would expect to see and measured on your customer's site? Just to recap, we've discussed metrics such as bounces, bounce rate, clicks, entrances, exits, and time on page. However, there are many more metrics out there, such as page views and visits. Using multiple segments can open our eyes to even greater information about our website. The example right here, we're going to continue with breaking it out by country, but we're also going to break it out by source. So if you look at the first example, we see the United States is the country and Google is the source. This tells us how many users are in the United States and coming from Google. Using that, we can see that 4,500 visits, 1.4 pages per visit, an average duration of 1 minute, and a bounce rate of 20% is from our users in the United States that find us via Google. So why is this so important? Google Analytics allows you to mix and match dimensions freely. It gives you an incredible amount of flexibility in what information you can look at and gather. For example, let's say you're running a promotion in France. You can segment your data out by France and website visits, bounce rates, all those different metrics to give a good understanding about what's happening with this promotion in France. But it doesn't stop there. You can segment it by 2, you can segment it by 3, you can segment it by as many different data points as you have available. An incredible amount of flexibility to give a good understanding about what your website performance looks like. So what are some examples of other segments you might want to look at? As you know, mobile is becoming a bigger and bigger part of our digital landscape. So we can break it out by mobile operating system. How many of your users are coming from Android versus iOS? How many of your users are coming from BlackBerry? These is important segments that can give you great insight on your website performance. Also, the number of words per keyword. Where are you driving your traffic from? Are you getting long tail keywords? You can use these segments to gather great information about how you're driving your traffic. Also, if you have e-commerce websites out there, abandoned funnel visits. So how many people are adding things to their cart and abandoning them later on? Using this segment, you're able to see what your performance looks like from the abandoned funnel visit. So once we gather this great input and deliver by segments, it's important to know some of the reporting terminology. What are certain words and lingo we use within Google Analytics? Many of you might have heard of cookies. Google uses first-party cookies to track user behavior on a website. This is important because we can see items such as what time the current visit occurred, whether the visitor has been to the site before, and who referred that visitor to the site. For example, we see that this user came on a website to page A, they moved to page B, they had a 30-minute delay of inactivity before visiting page C. Google Analytics would view this as 3 separate page views, 2 visits because the user had 30 minutes of inactivity, but it was 1 unique visitor. Two of the things measured by cookies and gathered by cookies are bounces and bounce rate. Bounces are simply a single page view or an event triggered by a view. Simply put, a user came in and they left without visiting any other portion of your website. An example of that could be you sent a friend a link to a website, they clicked on your link, read information about that before exiting. Because they didn't visit any part of the website, that's considered a bounce. Or you sent a link to a home page, jumped on a home page, you read information, you didn't go any other part of the website before exiting. This is also called a bounce. A bounce rate is simply the percentage of bounces you get with sessions. Another couple of great measurements are entrances and exits. An entrance page is the first page a user goes to when they come on your website. An exit is simply the last page they're on before exiting. Many of you might be asking yourself, what is the difference between a bounce rate and an exit rate? Simply put, an exit rate is the exits divided by page views, whereas the bounce rate is the bounces divided by entrances. For all page views to page A, the exit rate is the percentage that were the last in the session. For all sessions that start with page A, bounce rate is the percentage that were the only one of the session. And the bounce rate calculation for a page is based only on visits that start with page A. Let's look at an example between bounce rate versus exit rate. In this example, a user came in on Monday, started at page A, went to page B, went to page C, and exited. On Tuesday, they entered page B, went to page A, went to page C before exiting. And on Wednesday, they went to page A before exiting. If we look at the exit rate of page A, we'll see that there was one exit and 3 page views, giving us an exit rate of 33%. For page B, we saw 0 exits with 2 page views, giving us a 0% exit rate. For page C, there were 2 exits and 2 page views, giving us 100% exit rate. Whereas looking at bounce rate for each of these pages, we can see that page A had 1 bounce and 2 entrances, giving us a 50% bounce rate. Page B had 0 bounces and 1 entrance, giving us a 0% bounce rate. And page C also came in at a 0% bounce rate with 0 bounces and 0 entrances. We covered quite a few things today around Google Analytics. You now should be able to describe the fundamentals of Google Analytics, explain why Google Analytics is so important, define metrics, dimensions, and segments, and identify the differences between bounce rate and exit rate. If you find yourself hungry for more, wanting to learn more about Google Analytics, Google has provided a free academy online called the Google Analytics Academy. Please feel free to click on the link below to jump right in. I'd like to thank you all for your time today and wish you the best of luck using Google Analytics in your sales process.